All right, good afternoon, everyone. And it's so far, it looks like we have just Gwen and Sabrina. Hey, that's still good. Oh, Patty just popped on. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a great day. Let me just go back here. Just mute everyone's mic here. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. All right, so yeah, hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. As you can see here on the PowerPoint slide, your 8th tracker is due today. So if you haven't submitted your tracker, definitely make sure you do today. Now, just like usual, I will have everyone's mic on mute, so you can always unmute your mic for questions or comments. Of course, I have the chat feature available as well. All right. So I am just going to remove my camera like we do each week, and I will pop back on during the question and answer session, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off like we do each week, discussing the success that you had from last week's action steps. And then we're going to get to the topic of the day, which is looking or talking about the health-related components of physical fitness. Specifically, we're going to give you a definition of what physical activity is and exercise. And you're going to see a little bit of difference between the two. And then we're going to look specifically at the 5 health-related components of physical fitness. And then we're going to look at how to develop those components of physical fitness. Then we're going to get to the Q&A section. Then we'll introduce the week's action steps coming up and next week's topic, and then give you a reminder about next Wednesday's tracker. All right. So if you do recall, last week, we talked about being strategic with your grocery shopping, reading food labels, and finding healthy, convenient foods that work for your plan. So I think I have about 3 questions here. The first one is, what strategy or strategies did you use to shop smart at the grocery store? Does anybody want to mention what strategy or strategies did you use to shop smart at the grocery store? Again, you can unmute your mic or you can send a chat. Either one.
I make a list so that I try to stick to my list.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Patty. Yeah, so making a list and sticking to that list is definitely a strategy to shop smart. Perfect. Anyone else? No takers? Okay. And if a chat pops up, I will grab it when it comes through. Well, let's look at the second question here. Do you have an example, a specific example of how reading a food label helped you make a quick, informed choice? So do you have a specific example since we met last week of how you read a certain food label and you were like, oh yeah, reading this specific food label allowed me to choose this one over something else? Does anybody have an example, specific example they want to share? Yeah. All right. So Carrie said she always looks for low to no sodium items. Okay. Is there a specific example, Carrie, of a specific food? Is it like canned vegetables? If you're doing canned vegetables, you look for the low to no sodium version or something like that? Okay. Got a chat from Sabrina. saying on my list, so she makes a list, grouped all things together in the sections of the stores to stay out of other aisles. Yeah, that's a good strategy as well. In other words, fresh veggies all together, broths, etc. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, not only making a list, but grouping things together in sections of the stores. Perfect. All right. Well, let's look at this third question. And I know we talked about this last week, and you had some great examples in your program booklet as well. But what healthy convenience food or foods are you using now that work for your plan? I think last week I mentioned, my probably number one convenient healthy food is rotisserie chicken. So since we met last week, did anyone maybe purchase a healthy, convenient food that's kind of working for you now?
I like to grab baby carrots and chop up a little celery so I can grab it when I want
Yeah,
something really quick.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's a really great example of a healthy, convenient food is the little baby carrots and then getting celery that you can dice up. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, unless you have any more comments on the success of last week's action steps, we will go ahead and move on to the topic, but definitely moving forward after today, definitely keep that in mind about being strategic with your grocery shopping, things that we talked about last week. Reading your food labels to help you make a quick and informed decision, and then finding those healthy, convenient foods that will really work for you. Okay. All right. Okay. And Sabrina popped up with popcorn. Yeah, popcorn can be a healthy convenience food, especially I would recommend get the plain and also the ones if you can get some with lower sodium. Yep, a good one. All right. So let's get to the topic of the day. We're going to give you a distinction between physical activity and exercise. These are commonly used, these two words are commonly used interchangeably, but there is a little distinct difference that we will see. Now, if you do recall, our goal, general goal for physical activity, which is one of our fundamentals, is 30 to 60 minutes per day. And again, that is anything that gets you moving beyond a resting state that counts toward physical activity. Now, let's give you a definition of what physical activity is. And this definition does come from the American College of Sports Medicine. And the definition of physical activity says, and you can see what's bold and underlined here, it says any bodily movement produced by the contraction of skeletal muscles that results in an increase in caloric requirements over a resting energy expenditure. In other words, any movement by the human body that's causing the muscles to work and it's increasing some, calorie requirement over than you just sitting in a chair or laying down. Okay. Now, let's give you a definition of what exercise really is. And again, this comes from the American College of Sports Medicine. And according to this definition, and you can see what's underlined here, it's specifically a type of physical activity consisting of planned, that's the key word, structured, another key word, and repetitive, and that's a very important keyword, and repetitive bodily movement done to improve or maintain one or more components of physical fitness. So you can see here, the word exercise is specifically a type of physical activity, but it is something that you intentionally plan and structure it. And what's important, it is repetitive in nature. Back and forth, moving, 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 moving. And the intent is to improve or maintain one or more components of physical fitness. which now you say components of physical fitness. Well, physical fitness is composed of 5 health-related components. 5 health-related components. So let's look at the 5 health-related components of physical fitness and give you a description, okay? The first health-related component of physical fitness is cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory endurance, and that's your body's ability to deliver oxygen to the working muscles during exercise, okay? Now, the second health-related component of physical fitness is what we call muscular endurance. And this is your muscles' ability to exert force repeatedly for an extended period of time. So, for example, if you had an object that had some resistance or weight to it, and you were pushing or pulling or holding that resistance for an extended period of time, that's called muscular endurance. And then the third health-related component of physical fitness is muscular strength. And that's your muscle's ability to exert a maximum amount of force in one effort. So basically, the heaviest amount of resistance or weight that you could push or pull just one time with a maximal effort. Okay. And then the fourth component of physical fitness is flexibility. And that's your muscles and joints' ability to move through their full range of motion. Okay, so a joint and a muscle's ability to maintain its flexibility. And then the last but not least health-related component of physical fitness is something called body composition, and that's your body's ratio of lean muscle compared to stored body fat. Okay, so all of these components of physical fitness do relate to your health. So in other words, you want to have a cardiovascular system or a cardiorespiratory system that has good endurance. Also, you want a muscular system that has some strength and endurance to do just activities of daily living. You want to make sure your joints are flexible, your muscles are flexible, so you can bend and twist and things like that to help prevent injury. And then you have like body composition. Again, when you exercise consistently, when you eat a healthy diet consistently, that's going to improve your body composition, meaning you're going to reduce body fat, but you're going to help either maintain or increase muscle tissue in your body, which is so important. All right. Now, we want to look at how to develop these components of physical fitness. So how to develop these components of physical fitness. And this information is in your booklet. And we do that through the FIT principle, which means frequency of training, intensity of training, the time of training, and the type of training. Okay, so we develop these components of physical fitness through the FIT principle. Okay, now first, you look at cardiovascular endurance. The frequency of doing this component of physical fitness to improve it is to do this at least 5 days per week. The intensity of cardiovascular endurance is something that's moderate, meaning that you're elevating your heart rate, you're elevating your breathing rate, and you're sustaining this over time, which takes us to the first T, which is time for cardiovascular endurance. And it is recommended that you perform at least 150 minutes per week of cardiovascular endurance. And the types of cardiovascular endurance could be a lot of things. This could be walking, jogging, cycling, dancing, swimming, doing jump rope, participating in sports like basketball and tennis. So again, anything that is dynamic, that is rhythmic, that is repetitive, you're elevating your heart rate and your breathing rate, and you're sustaining it over time, okay? So that's using the FIT principle for cardiovascular endurance. All right. Now, when you look at both muscular strength and muscular endurance, so that combination for your muscular system, it's recommended as far as frequency to perform this for 2 up to 3 days per week on non-consecutive days. And the intensity of doing these type of muscular strength and endurance exercises is enough to cause the muscles to fatigue, to have a little exhaustion, but not just completely fail. Now, when it relates to time, so the first T in the FIT principle, it's based on sets and repetitions. And they recommend there for muscular strength and muscular endurance to perform 1 to 3 sets of about 8 to 12 repetitions of different type of strengthening, muscular strength and endurance exercises. And that could be things that involve weightlifting, where you're using dumbbells, you're using barbells, maybe you're using soup cans or milk jugs. Also, you could do your own body weight, like pull-ups, push-ups, squats, lunges, and crunches, okay? So those are the various types that you can perform that's really working the muscular system to improve that component. And then lastly here, for flexibility, is frequency. And they recommend that you perform this 2 to 7 days per week. And it's the intensity, the I, is enough to feel tension when you're doing that stretch, but not pain. And the time is based on repetitions and sets. And they recommend for each stretch, you perform at least 2 repetitions and you hold each stretch for 10 to 30 seconds. And then the type would be like basic stretching exercises that you can perform through the total body. You also can perform things like yoga, like Pilates. And yoga and Pilates, they're kind of unique. It not only falls in that component of flexibility, but also it can fall into that component of muscular strength and muscular endurance. So again, this is how you would develop these components of physical fitness by applying the FIT principle: frequency, intensity, time, and type. And you can see below, and this is also in your booklet, it just shows you to meet these minimum requirements, how you can incorporate that into a 7-day period, okay? So does anybody have any questions or comments based off that, what we just talked about, before we get to a Q&A section? Okay. All right, which is now taking us to our questions. I'm going to pop my screen back on here. So there's going to be 2 questions here. 2 questions. So the first question says, which health-related component or components of physical fitness are you performing at this time? Are you performing cardiovascular exercise like walking, jogging, cycling, an aerobic class, swimming? Are you performing muscular strength and muscular endurance exercises? In other words, you know, you're lifting weights, you're doing your own body weight like push-ups or squats or crunches. You're doing yoga and Pilates. Are you performing flexibility, like different stretches? Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, Carrie says she's doing walking daily for 30 minutes. So, yeah, that's that cardiovascular endurance. So, that health-related component of physical fitness. So, again, which health-related component or components, if you're doing more than one, of physical fitness are you performing at this time?
I have specific stretching exercises that I got from physical therapy after my surgery, and I do those at my desk when my neck gets tight and stuff like that.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, that is a component of physical fitness uh, that you're developing, is stretches or flexibility exercises. Like you said, you got it from your physical therapy specifically to help through the neck. So yeah, so that is a component of physical fitness. Mhm. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So Sabrina said she's taking hot yoga and hot Pilates. Ooh, I bet you stay hot at least 6 times a week for an hour. So those two things right there can actually fall under two components. Like I said earlier, it can fall under that flexibility component, and it also can fall under that muscular strength and muscular endurance component too. So you're not kind of killing two birds with one stone. And like you said, you sweep instead of vacuum at home. So yeah, that would be one of those common chores, physical activity. Uh, Now we wouldn't really throw that under true exercise, but that is considered a common chore, physical activity, which is still beneficial for you. Um, so yeah, thank you. All right, so Tor said she's currently using the stairs at work and at home, along with cleaning and adding more walking. So yeah, taking the stairs instead of maybe the elevator. Of course, when you take the stairs, that can definitely help the muscular system, as you know, with your legs. It can elevate your heart rate. Also cleaning, so common chores, physical activity, and more walking, which is the cardiovascular. Good. All right, well, let's look at that last question. Which health-related component of physical fitness do you think you need to add to your exercise routine? Meaning, you may be doing cardiovascular exercise like walking, but you need to add some muscular strength and muscular endurance. Or you're doing cardiovascular, but you need to add in some flexibility. Anything like that, maybe that you need to add that you're not currently doing?
I need to add all of it except for the flexibility.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Patty. So yeah, so Patty's obviously doing the flexibility with the PT exercises that they gave her. So adding in the cardiovascular and the strengthening. Anyone else? And I will say for myself, I consistently do cardiovascular exercises. I consistently do exercises for my muscular system. One thing I don't do consistently enough is the flexibility, which I do need to work on as well. Okay, and Tor said need to add all as well. Good. All right. Well, any more comments on the questions?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, which now takes us to the action steps for the week. The action steps for the week, and that is to add in a new health-related physical fitness component to your exercise routine. Like Patty said earlier, she's doing the flexibility, but she says she needs to add in the other components, like Tora said, need to add in more as well. So let me see, and anybody else who might need to add, and we'll challenge you to see if next week if you did add in one more component. And of course, do not forget about your fundamentals of the program. They're still extremely important. That's the foundation of it all, and that's utilizing that guide to smart food choices, which will help you really manage your calories within all those food groups without having to count the calories. Uh, Also, water intake, at least 64 ounces a day. If you're not quite there, keep working on those. Fruits and vegetables, very important. 5 a day is your servings. If you're not quite there, keep working on those. Of course, with your fruits, remember, focus on whole fruits. With your vegetables, vary your vegetables. Remember, that's the My Plate tips. Then you think about your proteins, your grains, your dairy, your other 3 food groups. Remember those My Plate tips, proteins, vary your protein routine. Dairy, go low fat to fat free. With your grains, consume at least half of your grains from whole grains. And then thinking about making those swaps within those groups, okay? And then, of course, we have our physical activity goal. All right. So again, don't forget about the application of your fundamentals. And then next week's topic, we're going to talk about overcoming physical fitness barriers. Now, I know in the original Go Healthy class, we did kind of hit on that a little bit, but we're going to have a whole class on that. And you do have in your booklet all of, I think, the 12 physical fitness barriers that have been identified, and then all these strategies that you can use for each one of these barriers. So that's in your booklet, and that's what we will be talking about next week. Whoops. And then lastly, of course, next Tuesday will be your next, Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be your next tracker, okay? So does anybody have any comments or questions before we go for the day? Okay. Well, if you do have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to me over email. I did record this like usual. Once we do get this converted over to the YouTube link, I will send it out to everybody. Other than that, I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll be looking forward to see what physical fitness component you added into your routine when we talk next week. Other than that, thank y'all very much, and y'all have a good one. Bye.